Hello and welcome to the channel. So what have I got here? Well, it's a while since we did part one on this. This is a Wem Westminster, and I did a lengthy video on this amp, and we did some work on it, recapped it and whatever, and we discovered that these tubes, these output tubes, which are ECL82s, were way over biased. The dissipation max on these is 7 watts. Just flick them over so you can see, is 7 watts, and these were dissipating 12. So I calculated the effective load resistance of the transformer, and for the ideal match these were 10 watts. Now I was going to try and rewire these two bases and put some Russian tubes in which are similar to ECL85s, which have a dissipation of 9 watts, or the Russian ones do, but I've decided not to. There's a lot of work messing about, and I've decided to go with these and just bias them at 10 watts, which is what most people do. I may even bias them at 9, but just to be on the safe side. But we're going to drop the bias, and the reason that they'd bias these at 12 watts was just to push this, keep this amp in class A. It just pushes the limit for class A up on these tubes, and we saw that on the scope. When these were biased at 12 watts, we'd got virtually no crossover distortion on this amp at all, even right up to virtually flat out. But obviously it's baking these tubes. Having said that, they've been running for years, but unless it's been in a cupboard somewhere for years and years, it's in pretty good condition. I'll put a link to part one. You'll see it come up in the top right hand corner of this video, and you can go in and watch part one if you want to watch that before you watch this one, or you can watch this one and then obviously watch that one after, or not watch that one at all. Choices. So we're going to bias this amp, and I cut out the bias resistor. All the caps, coupling caps have been replaced, the bypass caps, we've had all the plate resistors replaced in it, so I replaced all those. So we've done quite a lot of work to this amp, and we cut the bias resistor out here. It had been burning the board, so we're going to jumper in a bias resistor, and we're going to bias this amp up, and then I'm going to take the board out and solder it in properly. And then we've got some other things to look at. So the other thing is the power cable, which we never got around to doing. You can see there that the wires are poking out there, and no doubt there'll be a 13 amp fuse in there. And we may have to look at trying to secure this cable better, because they soldered straight onto the switch there, soldered straight onto the switch, and also soldered onto a lug down here, which it then bolts into the through the transformer onto the this metal panel here, and it's okay. I mean, this is a difficult thing really to to get safe, and that's the thing we've got to make sure with this amp, that it is safe when we before we put it back together. But the first thing we're going to do is get this bias resistor on it. So we're going to get a speaker on it, and I think I'm going to change this cable as well for the speaker, because it's gone really hard and horrible. So we're going to get that changed as well. So that'll be very good. And we're going to get this amp put back together. Now this amp has got a very nice Fane 12-inch speaker in it, so I'm quite looking forward to hearing this amp up and running, and we'll have a bit of a look at that as well in the cabinet once we come round to actually fitting this into the cabinet. Right, we've got it all up and running, and as you can see, just go in a bit more. As you can see, we've got the meter at the back there, the Fane, honing in on the plate cathode voltage, and we've got the meter up here, the 1, and you can see up there he's on 13.7, so he's measuring the drop across the cathode resistor. So we need to bias this amp up. So we're looking for about 9 or 10 watts on this. We've got a 330 ohm resistor in there at the moment. I just grabbed that as a starter for 10. So we'll take our 13.7 and we'll divide it by 330, and that gives us 41.5 milliamps. We're going to divide that by 2 because we've got 2 tubes in push pull, and we've got now 20 milliamps, and we're going to take 5% for the screens. That leaves us 19.7 milliamps, and we're going to times that by, we'll just call it 195, and that's 3.84 watts. So that 330 is a bit too big, as I guessed it would be, but I just grabbed it just to get it fired up. So we need something smaller, don't we, to go in there. I can't remember what was in it originally without looking at the schematic, but I've got what's that one? Ferreting in the cathode resistor box. That's 100R. I think that'll be too small. That's 820. That's even not as big. I'm rambling again, sorry. 240R, that'll do. Let's try that. 240R. That'll get us roughly where we want to be. And the beauty about doing cathode bias is you can just disconnect the cathode resistor. There's only low volts going across it, and of course it just shuts the amp down. There we go, that's the 240 ohms, and that does seem to be swaging a little more by the sound through the speaker. I've just got a little test speaker on the time being, nothing fancy, just again something just to get this up and running. It's not really relevant at this stage, as long as we've got a speaker, that's fine. So let's see what we've got now. See, our plate volts has gone down by 10 volts. Do you know, I'm doing it again. It's on the current limiter still. Actually, when I fired it up, it had got a short on it, which is, so it's a good job I did use the current limiter. That's the second time I've done that. So I'm going to get the Plank of the Year certificate at this rate. Right, let's now it's looking much more like it. I wonder, I thought that's a bit low for 330 ohms. I've not quite firing on all cylinders today because I've had a migraine today and I still feel a bit groggy, a bit like somebody's hit me with this piece of wood here across the back of the head. But never mind, we all get them, don't we? So let's look at what we've got now. So now the meter above has now got 20.4 volts on it. So let's look at that. 20.4, about 20.5. Divide that by 240. Now we've got 85 milliamps divided by 2 equals 42.7. Take away 5% for the screens. That gives us 40.5 milliamps. And we're going to times that by 268.5. I think will be near enough. 268.5, that's 10 watts, 10.89, little bit over what we want there. So we need to come down a little more, don't we? Probably something around 300 ohms maybe would be suffice, I think. I'm going to put that 330 back in and be brave and say that's the resistor we want. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm not really thinking straight at the moment because I've actually had some codeine earlier, and we all know what that does to you. So not quite firing on all cylinders. Right, oops, that's fallen off. There we go. Right, so back onto the 330. Let's see what we've got now. 22.5 drop. 22.5 drop across the resistor. Divide by 330. 68 milliamps divided by 2. Take away the 5% for the screens. That leaves us 32.3 milliamps per tube times 274.5 will do. That's 8.89. So 300 ohms is about bang on if we want it at 9 watts. It's still over for those tubes though, because they only dissipate 7 watts, so that's already over 100%. But yes, so I might just go around and have a brevet. I like that word, brevet. 300R. Oh, but that's only 6 watts. Might do, might not. Should do. Yeah, that'll do. What am I thinking? That's plenty big enough. Oh dear. I feel as rough as a badger's bottom. 300R. Let's put that in, madam. Down there, that's it. What's he got now? I think that's just about where we want to be. So we now got 21.9 across the resistor. Resistor's 300 ohms. So divide that by 300. Now got 73 milliamps divided by 2. Take away 5% for the screen. Leaves 34.6 times by 273. And that's 9.4 watts, and that'll do for me. 9.46 watts. There we go. And that is wham bam, thank you ma'am. So that's what we're going to put in there, that 300 ohm 6 watt resistor. So that's the bias sorted out. We've just got to take the board up, solder that resistor in. Then I'm going to go and get the cabinet and see how this cable is fixed in, because I can't remember without looking, and we'll have a look at that rather nice Fane speaker that's in it as well. Right, so that's the cabinet there, you can see. So let's have a look at the speaker. There you go, we've got this Fane speaker there, this high efficiency Fane. Now if I just put this on, go in, you can see there we've got a date. Can you see that there? Well, I think that's a date. I think that might be the 29th week of 76, maybe. So we'll might have a look online, you know, and see if we can date this speaker. It's very dusty, as you can see, and there it's a 16 ohms, which is what we need for this Wem. So that's the speaker. It doesn't say what wattage it is, but we may be able to look that up as well. Right, we've got it all back together. We've just got to put the back on and the knobs on, and it's all bolted in. We've got the speaker wired up. We've got the plug done now. 3 amp fuse in there, and we had to look at this cable because there was nothing. All it had was a plastic. In fact, I'll find it. There it is. That's all there was for the grip cord. That was a no-no. But I found this piece of metal, and it's got like the way it was obviously it was a right angle, but it got like a bump in the other side, but not sharp, but just enough to clamp this wire, and I put that in, and it's proper solid. So that's nice and safe now. It doesn't look wonderful, but it's safe, and you can't see it when the back's on. And you know, anyone trips over that, you know, they ain't pulling that out in a hurry. So That's nice and safe, and as safe as we can possibly make it anyway. So we'll just put the back on, put the knobs on, and we're ready to have a listen. Right, we've got this little Wem Westminster up and running, ready for the demo. So we'll have a bit of a listen. Now I've had a bit of a play around with this amp, and it sounds pretty good. There we go. That's with on the neck pickup, and this amp appeared to be quite noisy when it was on the bench, but it's not too bad now it's in the cabinet. If you turn the treble full up, and as you get the volume full up, it does get a little noisy. If you make the treble out, it's not too bad. I mean, the thing's flat out now, so, but you know, up to, and it's not that loud because obviously it's not a particularly high gain amp, and the tubes in it, you know, they're not mega tubes, they're only small wattage ECL 82s. Don't know what the American number for those is. 6BM8? Good un? Anybody in America? 6BM8? Am I right? I might be wrong. Probably wrong. Probably. Right, enough of me waffling. If you put all bass in, tone this amp's got. That's one of the things that impressed me about it. That Fane speaker obviously is one of the things that's making this amp sound as good as it is. That Fane speaker sounds gorgeous. But just listen to the warmth of that. That's a lovely fat tone that I'm getting out of that. Fane speaker is really tasty. If I was one of those people that would break amps up at nothing and, you know, take out the best bits, blah blah whatever, but I'm not, so I would have that speaker out if I was that sort of person. That speaker is tasty. Let's try it on the neck pickup. There we go, the Wem Westminster, and that is a beautiful sounding amp. It really is. That has really impressed me. I mean, as I say, I think if that Fane speaker wasn't in there, it probably wouldn't sound as good, and I think that speaker is you know, the big part. But that is a gorgeous sounding amp. That sounds incredible. So in the next video we'll be looking at a special gift that I've actually received from one of the watchers of the channel, John. So we're going to be having a look at that, and we'll actually, it's one of the things we should be looking at in every video, and you'll see why when in the next video when I show you what that is. We've got what I'm working on at the moment. Well, the Masco, both the Mascos we keep nibbling away at those. We're about 3/4 of the way through one of them now, and yes, we've had to practically rebuild one of them because of Billy Bodger. And also been working on the Stromberg as well. We've been putting the power supply together in that one, which again was extremely botched up, as you'll see in the video. And we've got a few more videos coming up, various things to look at and so on. So yeah, it should be, and spring's getting nearer. I don't know about where you live, but here it's freezing. So we're looking forward to spring coming soon in a few weeks. But that'll do it for this one, and enough of me waffling. So thanks for watching, you all take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.